And a very good Thursday evening to you. We are back, and so are the Jackets after we welcomed 40,000 plus to Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field for the home opener against Georgia State. Can't wait to see what atmosphere awaits us this Saturday as your Yellow Jackets come back home to take on VMI. 3:30, Tomies Leather in the 16th all-time matchup between your Yellow Jackets and the VMI Keydets. It is another edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show. Once again, we are live from New Realm Brewing Company on the east side Beltline of Atlanta. Don't forget, folks, we are here every game week, every Thursday night now for the rest of the season. Get your weekend started early with us. I'm sure your bosses will understand, up on the rooftop of New Realm. And great to have you all joining us live as well. My name is Andy Demetra. Without further ado, let's welcome him in, your head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, Brent Key. Coach, how are you?
I'm good.
That was a pregnant pause right there. I almost threw you off.
Wasn't sure what you were going to do there. Was it just looking at me and just going to say something?
Steering deeply.
A question coming or a statement?
I like to keep you on your toes here. You quoted Nick Saban a couple of times this week, one of which was never waste a failure. Coming out of the Syracuse game, I know it was not the result you wanted, but what were some of the lessons you hope your team gained from that performance that they can use positively and productively moving forward?
Well, I mean, there's lessons in every game, and win, lose, draw. There's lessons in every game, and I spoke to the team on Sunday about, there's lessons you have to learn, there's corrections that have to be made, adjustments that need to be made. Problem is when you win a game and those same things happen, everyone's telling you how great you are. When you lose a game, everyone's telling you how not great you are. Right? And they become magnified both ways. So, we have to keep our, level head and keep ourselves grounded as much as you can to 120, 20-year-old kids. So, no, there's lessons. There's a lot of lessons in every game, but just a few. I mean, the consistency. I think it comes back to consistency. The consistency of play. We were kind of 50-50 offensively. When it came to the drives, consistency in the being able to run the football. I thought the big thing too is we tried to press a few times on things, whether it was a running back, a lineman, a receiver, DB. Regardless, there were times where just stay true to what you're supposed to do, stay true to the track on the run game, stay true to your pass rush lane, stay true to really what the scheme calls for. So this week was a lot about going back to basics. Was a lot about attention to detail, a lot about knowing, not just what to do and how to do it, but why you're doing it.
Consistency is such an intangible thing, but how do you address that, you and your coaches, to gain more consistency from your guys? What are you working on in practice so that it'll translate to what you want to see on Saturday?
Yeah, well, consistency is, you're right, it's a very broad term that people use, but our goal as coaches is to shrink the gap between practice and games, right? Because you don't want practice to be one speed, one tempo, one type of intensity, and then you get to a game and it's a different one, and you have to adjust, and it takes you a quarter, a half even to adjust. And well, that's what it appeared on Saturday, right? Now, I know how we practiced, I know how we went through things, I know how we went about our process, and but we have to continue to focus on what's important, right? And re-emphasize the things that are important. Not that they weren't emphasized before. All right, but just that was the key to this week. Last week was about us and obviously trying to do things that would end up helping us get a win. All right, when the game was over and it hit 0, that didn't happen. All right, so we have to go back and look and say, okay, what do we have to do now to make sure we get the ship right and get back on track?
There you go. And the next challenge is VMI on Saturday. You said that you and your staff did a deep dive on Sunday about the pass rush to affect that pocket better. And look, Kyle McCord, he threw some darts on Saturday. There were some very tight windows he fit some passes into where the coverage was there. On another Saturday, those would go for incompletions or pass breakups, but that wasn't the case last Saturday. What were some of the areas, though, that your staff identified where the team could improve so that they can get home on their quarterback better?
Yeah, I mean, there's been 11 times this year already where you're one step away. You're close to being there. So that goes back to now, right? Stance, your alignment, knowing the call, obviously, but your stance, your alignment, all right, your takeoff. You've probably heard me say the word takeoff this week on the practice field 100 times. Getting in a good stance. You're aligned a foot back on the line of scrimmage as opposed to a foot at the line of scrimmage, and that's a big difference. And that's where we're at right now. It's close. So, look, if you're not winning the one-on-ones or you're not winning the battles right there, let's find a way to gain another advantage, whether it's be alignment or stance or the takeoffs, and those are some of the things we have really focused on this week.
You guys had one sack that came from Kyle Eford. No sacks allowed by you for a third straight game. And Haynes King, 266 passing yards, led the team in rushing, had 2 touchdowns. That really nifty balancing act when it looked like he was dead to rights for a loss on your opening drive, and he turned it into a 21-yard touchdown. He enters this weekend 7th in the nation in completion percentage. 3 games, Haynes is completing 76.2% of his passes. Your final word on his performance versus Syracuse. Seemed like he did everything he could to keep you guys in the game.
He did. He was the thing I've been most proud of. With Haynes, he's protecting the football.
Mm-hmm.
He's understanding when to force a ball into a tight window and when to throw a ball away. Right? He's understanding, ball security when he's running the football. When to make him, when to try to stretch for the extra yard versus when to, get himself down and not be in a vulnerable position as a runner. So, but he's playing good football. He's the leader of the team, obviously the leader of the offense, but the leader of the entire football team. And the thing we've got to continue to stress is, last year, a lot of times when, things wouldn't be going great, everyone would just wait on Haynes to make a play or wait on Haynes to do something. And now we've got to continue to, it's everybody. It's everybody doing their 111th on all 3 phases, not just waiting on one person to go make a play.
Syracuse, it was no secret, they were going to crowd the box and commit to stuff in the run, given they struggled in run containment the prior week. That said, you have very high standards for your offensive line, and it wasn't as overpowering a performance up front as perhaps Georgia Tech fans had come to expect based on what they had seen last year and through 2 games this year. What gave the offensive line some troubles that maybe Tech fans hadn't seen those first 2 games?
Yeah, well, structure. They played a different structure, which you've got to be able to adjust and block regardless of what they play. I think if you've heard me, they were going to play 4 down, 3 down, or 5 down looks. But they played really 3 defensive tackles instead of the ends, and those bigger guys on the outside, because they'd had trouble containing the ball, setting an edge, containing the ball the week prior. So they put those bigger guys on the outside and kind of forced it all back into the teeth of the defense and played a little bit of an umbrella look. And we've got to, and that was what would happen. And I said it a few minutes ago was, all of a sudden you see a little bit different structure. You still have rules. You have rules. You have landmarks. You have assignments. All right. You have what is the intent of the play. All right. And all of a sudden somebody wants to do a little bit more here, and instead of sticking true to what it is. And there was probably 3 or 4 different plays out there I saw that we could have, if we had stayed true to really what the intent of the play is, that we could have had more yardage and kept moving the chains.
Yeah, like you said, never wasting a failure, absorbing those lessons. Down 17, 8 minutes to go. It looked pretty grim, but as we've come to expect from your team, they fight till the final whistle, and you gave yourself a chance inside of 2 minutes to have one last possession to drive to either tie or come back and win the whole darn thing. I know that may come as little consolation when those final seconds burned off, but how did those final 8 minutes kind of reveal the character of this team that maybe does reinforce to you that I've got the right type of guys that I want to roll out with?
Yeah, well, I think it's just that, that they, it was a 3-score game at one point, and they kept fighting, they kept chipping, they kept believing, and you look back at the first game of the season, you're talking, something goes 4 or 5 feet to the left. The outcome is different, but what happened for 59 minutes and 57 seconds in the game, it was the same. So that's where it goes back to, you have to treat those games all the same, right? And the thing we ask for is consistent effort for 60 minutes. Right? Not worrying about what the scoreboard is, continuing to play, continuing to believe in what either the plan is or the adjustments to the plan are, and they did, and they kept playing, and just needed to get another stop. And I thought special teams though did for the most part, did a good job of helping to keep us in the game with some of the plays they've made, too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on the other side of this timeout. Definitely had Syracuse fans sweating, didn't quite get the outcome, but now it's on to Saturday. And 3:30, Tommy Slether at Bobby Dodd Stadium, a Hyundai Field, as you welcome in the VMI Keydets. We're just getting underway live tonight at New Realm Brewing on the east side Beltline of Atlanta. It's the Brent Key Coaches Show driven by Hyundai. We'll take our first time out. Much more with Brent Key after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Brent Key Coaches Show is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Take a taste. Whatever your beverage of choice is, we're glad you're with us tonight at New Realm Brewing Company on the east side Beltline of Atlanta. Another live edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show. Make sure you put that in your calendar. We'll be here every Thursday night, 6 to 7 p.m., right off the east side Beltline. 60 minutes of great Georgia Tech football talk with the head coach of your Yellow Jackets, Brent Key. You are facing the only team in Division I that has your last name in their nickname, the Keydets, for the 16th time in school history and the first since 1988.
I have nothing to say.
Sometimes you don't need to say anything.
I really don't have anything to say.
So you were asking me how did they come up with the nickname Keydets? Like, VMI is located in Lexington, Virginia, and as I read, they are a military college, so it is sort of a Virginia twang version of cadets. They just kind of turned it into Keydets, and that's how they've been known ever since.
Donkeys, monkeys. You got me.
Yeah.
I'm stuck.
Yeah. But you know what their mascot is?
A Keydet?
No, a kangaroo, randomly enough. I won't bore you with the details of how they came to use a kangaroo in Lexington, Virginia as their mascot. Oh, yeah.
I've got nothing to say.
I'm filling your head with lots of impractical information. We probably should reserve that space for what it'll take to get a win over VMI on Saturday. You talked about special teams helping keeping you in that game. First time since 2022, you had you had two blocked kicks in a single game, the blocked punt and then the blocked field goal. Zeke Biggers had the third block of his career on the field goal. He was so close to getting that blocked punt. It was actually your freshman of Montre Bradford. As we said on the broadcast, Zeke and destroy 3 blocked kicks in Zeke Biggers' career. And if it were as simple as it's because he's 6'6", 300-plus pounds, then a lot of guys would have multiple blocked kicks in their career. What is it about Zeke that makes him so skilled in getting paws on the football like we saw last Saturday?
Alignment is one. All right, there's that's an advantage that we have to carry with us as tech guys. There's an angle that goes from the spot to the upright. So, no, that was a big part of this week. The game planning of a field goal block, but he's got power, so he's able to get guys knocked back, right? And then he's got the length, so he shortens that block spot. By doing a lot of times with guys, either they got power with their heads down, it's tough to be able to time it and get it up, or they have length and it's tough to get the power to get the knockback, to get the extra few inches that's needed. So I was wondering this week how many kicks he had. You said 3.
3, yeah.
I thought it was more than that.
It feels like more.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But he does a good job of that, and we've got to continue to put him in a position to be able to do those things.
What'd you make of your DB's performance? I know they were in the line of fire a lot because of Syracuse sticking with the pass and Cal McCord. We talked about the pass rush, and maybe that could have left them a little less vulnerable on some of those deep balls. But overall, how'd you feel your DBs acquitted themselves, especially having to make some changes on the fly with guys like Clayton Powell, Lee, Lamiles Brooks having to come off for spells?
Yeah, well, there's improvements in areas, and there's things we got to get better at in areas. We've got to continue to be a better tackling group. We've got to be able to be sure tacklers. I thought on the perimeter, the corners, I thought they did better in some cases. We still got to continue to work on the back shoulder play, which is a hard ball. It's a hard ball. We've got to be consistent in our alignments. Whether we're playing off coverage, we're playing press coverage, not getting caught in between. And then a lot of the coverage comes to with it's everyone on the field, so it's hard just to say the DBs. There's linebackers, the pass rush affects it too. So really, it's all encompassing when it comes to that. Yeah, everything's interrelated. Tace Seymour was pressed into more snaps because of that early injury to Clayton Powell. He winds up with the career high 10 tackles.
I think he only had 8 career tackles prior to last Saturday. So he cleaned up a lot of plays. Still a young guy, sophomore. What's his upside as a safety, somebody that we can see on the field more as the season goes on?
Yeah, we've been excited about Tay really all summer, all preseason. He's got to continue to get those reps, those valuable reps in games, be more consistent in the assignment number one, but then the angles of tackles, being a sure tackler, consistency within the preparation. But we've been pleased with Tay. I've been pleased with Tay. I think he's got a high ceiling, and hopefully he continues to improve week in and week out.
I know the opening drive for both offense and defense, it's a feeling out process. But what can be done defensively to maybe be more stout out of the gate? You look at these first 3 games, Florida State's opening drive, they marched downfield, they get a touchdown. Georgia State, they had a 1st and goal at the 2, though you guys bowed up and kept them out of the end zone. Syracuse goes downfield, they score 75 yards on their first offensive series. Anything you guys have identified to maybe be more stout, more assertive, so that the defense can get off the field on that opening series?
Take the ball.
That'd be good. That's a start.
Let's just be blunt about it.
Yeah.
Take the ball. Take the ball. How about that?
Sometimes, like you said, sometimes you say less.
You can't control that, though. You can't control that. No, there's a lot of things we have to do. I don't want to get into things we've done or are doing. But no, that's, once, then twice, and then, all right, now let's have a different plan of attack here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. See how that maybe changes things up this Saturday versus VMI. Another young player who was pressed into some snaps late because of injury. You lost Malik Rutherford early in that 4th quarter. Bailey Stockton comes in. Did a nice job, I thought. Had a couple of catches. Looked like he belonged out there. Guy who generated a lot of intrigue for his performance in the spring game. How can he remain a viable part of this pass game, and what skills does he bring to that room?
Well, being on the field's the first one. He's got to be on the field and be in position to be able to get the ball. And we've been excited about him for a while. And he has a different skill set than Malik in the slot. It's a different type of player there. And then as training camp and now going into game 4, his practice habits have improved a lot. He got it was. Excuse me. It was nothing really to do with Malik of why he was in. We've been planning to play him more and more and more, and that'll continue to happen as the season goes.
Yeah, Bailey, 2 catches, 3 on the year. Jackson Hamilton, another guy, your linebacker, saw more playing time out of him versus Syracuse. He winds up with 2 tackles, scooped up that blocked field goal as well in the first half. His traits as a linebacker that makes him a good fit in your linebacking core. You plucked him out of the transfer portal from Louisville, but he's an Atlanta Metro guy.
He is. Recruited him out of high school, and known his dad for a while, have mutual friends. Mm-hmm. Then when he decided to make the switch and come back here, I thought he'd be a good guy to be able to be in that room. Has experience, is mature, is a good kid. Has played a lot of special teams in his career. Ought to be able to bring to special teams value, and then he runs well, and that's what's needed is guys that can run and play in space. Sure tacklers. So it was good to see him get in there, and we've got to continue to play those guys and get more guys out there on the field.
Kyle Eford, Trinelius Tatum, they're not the only ones suctioning up the tackles on that linebacker level. Jackson Hamilton got in there as well. Georgia Tech will be back at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field Saturday, like we said, 3:30. Can't wait to invite you out. Don't worry about the weather forecast. Come on, you only get so many opportunities every fall. Cheer on your Yellow Jackets as they take on the VMI Keydets. We'll hit another timeout. Once again, we're live tonight from New Realm Brewing Company, Atlanta's favorite restaurant and brewery. It's the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. Back after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Hyundai and Georgia Tech together in tech, innovation, and progress. With the new EV plant in Georgia, Hyundai looks forward to growing ties with the Institute and the community. Together, we're building the future of technology right here in Georgia. Hyundai and Georgia Tech, it's our journey. I'm Andy Demetra. He's Brent Key. And this is the Brent Key Coaches Show. Welcome back here live from the Eastside Beltline and New Realm Brewing Company. You were scrolling your phone during the commercial break. Yeah, because
hokey.
So we had said in the last break that the Keydets of VMI, it's the only school in Division I that's got Brent's last name in the nickname.
Hokies, Yankees.
Okay. Well, first, there's no Yankees in Division I. Hokies is phonetic. Hawkeyes and Buckeyes both had Key in there.
I found those also.
Okay, so you're going to claim what?
Google.
VMI, Ohio State, Iowa,
Google.
and Virginia Tech? I didn't realize your last name was so popular in the nickname game.
It's not at all. It's not at all, but Google helps. And the Hokies could be turkeys.
Yeah. Oh, that's a 2-for-1 then with Virginia Tech. You're going to claim Hokies and turkeys. Okay.
Turkeys. I won.
I didn't know we were playing a game.
We're not.
Okay.
But
you want me to give you a prize?
You asked. I was speechless. I had nothing to say.
Yeah.
So I Googled it.
By the way, do want to mention it's Military Appreciation Day this Saturday versus VMI. You've got a couple of your players whose parents have served our country. Jamal Haynes' mom, Annette Johnson, spent 10 years in the Army. She retired as a staff sergeant. I love Brent Sider's dad, your tight end. He was a naval aviator, folks, for 18 years. He actually went to the actual Top Gun at Naval Air Station Miramar in San Diego. So he doesn't need a Top Gun or Maverick, the reboot. He actually lived that.
Yeah.
You know what his call sign was? Brett told me this last year. Brett Sider's dad's call sign.
Slither?
Yeah.
Slither.
Which is pretty awesome. Yeah, Slither. So we certainly salute all of our great military veterans who will be there, honored, recognized at the game on Saturday, and we know you will welcome them as well. Once again, 3:30, Tomies Leather, Georgia Tech, and Brent Key's favorite nickname, the Keydets of VMI. Not a current player, but a former player. How about J.P. Mason? Everybody saw him and what he did on Monday Night Football for the 49ers. I think it was, 146 rushing yards against the Jets?
Yeah, really happy for J.P. He's such an awesome kid, and always got a smile on his face. I was watching some old film on something earlier this week, and kind of saw him. It was years ago. He's on the sideline, kind of standing over the bench by himself, and I was watching it with somebody, and I said, and that guy right there, standing by the bench, I wonder what he's doing now. Oh, only rushing for 140-plus yards on Monday Night Football. But no, he did. I thought the coolest thing about it was when they interviewed him after the game, and they said that we saw Christian over there, Christian McCaffrey, talking to you. What was he saying? And he said, just don't try to be anybody else, just be myself, be who I am. And that rings so true for football players. They regardless of what level you're at, everyone tries to do more than the play allows you to do, or do more than the intent of the plays has you doing. Do more than you're capable of doing on that. Everybody tries to do more, and they end up getting less. They bounce something, do something the wrong way, and JP just stayed true to who he is and ran the ball inside, ran hard, and was very productive. So I'm really excited for him.
Yeah, he ran the same way on Monday night that he ran at Georgia Tech. Just nothing fancy, barrel through that line, doesn't go down on first contact. I know you, back then, you coached the offensive line, so you must have had an appreciation for JP's running style and the way that it would scale up to the NFL, and we saw that all on the Monday night stage.
Yeah, he's got size. He's tough. He was a guy that he didn't care as long as he was in the game playing. He loved playing football, whether it was blocking, whether it was running route, running the football. One in particular, we're playing NC State on a Thursday night, and it was like a 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and came to the sideline, and he looked at me and said, "Coach, give me the ball, call this, and I promise I'll get it." And sure enough, we called that run, and he did, and it ended up icing the game for us. And I kid him still to this day. He ran it and got the first down, but it wasn't really where the intent, what I've been talking about the last 30 minutes.
He didn't hit his landmark?
He didn't really hit the hole the right way, but he bounced it and ran a couple guys over. And I collect jerseys of former players at my house, and he was one of the first ones that I had up on the wall downstairs.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm sure he was a very popular fantasy pickup after Monday night. Our congrats to J.P. Mason. So I want to go back to mid-4th quarter against Syracuse. Down 17 points, and I think people were doing the math in their head that if you wanted to get level with the Orange, at some point you'd need to kick and recover an onside. It may have surprised some, though, that onside kick attempt came so early after the first touchdown when there was still 5+ minutes left on the clock. And you take us behind the reasoning of attempting that onside at that point in the game when you also still had the 2-minute timeout and all 3 timeouts.
Mm-hmm. What was the score at that point? It was... Well,
it would have been 31-21 because you had just scored the touchdown.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So it's 2 possessions. What time was on the clock?
I want to say 5:06.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 5.5 minutes, somewhere in there. Well, I keep a chart on the sideline with me, and it marks possessions. Okay, and as you're going through a game, right, if you're down 2 scores, it's pretty simple to think you have to have the ball 2 times. Well, at that point in the game, we had the ball 4 total possessions going into the last 2 minutes of the first half. We ended up blocking the punt and getting the 5th. And then we had it 2 possessions, I believe, 2 in the third. And, so we're averaging 2 point, maybe 2.5. So now, you look at the possessions you have, regardless of timeouts or not timeouts, right? You only have limited possessions left in the game, okay? Right? And then it becomes, a feel of the game. And look, we had not just been getting 3 and outs on the defensive side, their offense. So you look at possessions left, and that's an easy decision. That's a very, people can talk about analytics, and we look at the analytics part. Yeah, we look at analytics. We use sports science and analytics and a lot of things. But at the end of the day, there's a feel when you're on the sideline and knowledge of how that game, because all of the analytics things that are written, right, nothing's written after the ball's kicked off in the game. So that's where the gut feel of the game has to come in. So that was a simple decision.
Yeah, it was a great kick by Aiden Burr. Kyle Efer clinched up with his man, got the deflection, and then Avery Boyd pounced on it to give you guys possession back. And that was just the last of what was a really solid day from Avery. 4 catches, career-high 56 yards. Avery right now through 3 games, he has 9 catches, but that's more than his previous 4 seasons combined. We talked about Avery last week, somebody who switched from wide receiver when he first arrived to tight end. But one thing we maybe didn't get into as much is Avery's perseverance and his willingness to do things the hard way. As somebody who didn't have his work ethic rewarded with maybe the production he had hoped his first 3 seasons, and then you undergo a position switch and he had to deal with injuries left and right. To see what he's been able to contribute this early season, what does that say about Avery Boyd, not the player, but just Avery Boyd, the member of your locker room?
Yeah, he enjoys playing football here at Georgia Tech. And that's what we want. We want guys that enjoy playing football here at Georgia Tech. They enjoy what it is to be a Georgia Tech football player. And all the things that go along with it. So, it was funny. It was 2 nights ago. If I can find it. 2 nights ago, Avery texted me.
He's a witty guy, by the way. He's going to be our pregame guest this week on the Ramblin' Red Kickoff Show. Yeah, good dude. What I love, and I don't want to spoil too much of the interview, but he's got 2 dogs, all right, that he has in his apartment. Okay. These are 160-pound South African Mastiffs. That's basically like 2 Malik Rutherfords that he's got as pets in his apartment. That's like 300-plus pounds of dog. So, like, having to play defense against those dogs in his apartment, like shedding a block from a linebacker or a DB, that's easy on Saturday.
They are massive.
They probably slobber less as well.
So he texted me at like 10:30 a couple of nights ago.
Okay.
Says, Coach, do you know any Georgia Tech alum that are in commercial or residential real estate investing? I'm like,
that guy Teixeira, I'm vaguely familiar with. He's done well for himself.
I think there's a few out there that we can help you with, Avery. But it just shows the type of kids we have on the team that they're also preparing for that next step in life, in that next chapter. They're not waiting until it happens. They're preparing. They're thinking ahead, and they're thinking about those things.
And I look forward to showcasing Avery's personality on the pregame show. Warren Burrell, somebody who, don't mistake the fact we haven't called his name out often on the broadcast for lack of production. He leads you guys right now, 3 pass breakups. Can you go into more detail about Warren Burrell's ball skills and what's made him a really solid corner for you right out of the gate?
Yeah, he's got length, and that's such a big thing at corner. He's got the ability. He's got good feet. He can run. He's got good ball skills. In some of those PBUs now, we got to start turning those things into turnovers. Yeah. That's what
there were a couple of balls that fluttered on Saturday or juggled that were just right there for the taking. But that middle screen on Syracuse's last drive, it was well sniffed out by Kyle Efer. It was just an eyelash. It was there for the taking.
And we have to start coming away with some of those. Mm-hmm. All right, whether it's a tip ball, whether it's a ball in jeopardy, the way somebody's carrying it, and usually it takes one. And then it's another, and we've got to get that ball rolling, though. We've got to, that was part of the emphasis again this week was, tip balls in the air, balls in jeopardy, being able to, first guy secure the tackle, second guy be able to, wrap the ball up. So.
You were a team last year that finished 9th nationally in takeaways, but you're right. Sometimes they do occur in bunches. Another guy, I don't think we've discussed him yet on this show, but you've certainly seen him out there at rush end. That's Josh Robinson, senior guy for you, somebody who's gotten, it seems, incrementally better throughout his Georgia Tech career. What have you liked out of Josh Robinson so far?
Now, he is kind of he's been really from spring ball through camp. He's been probably the most consistent guy. He's not flashy. You're not going to see his name called 6-7 times in a game. But just to have somebody that you can rely on to get in there, know the defense, know what he's supposed to do his assignment, play hard. That's what you look for in some of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Josh Robinson. Fun to see him get some playing time and work his way into a meaningful role on your defensive line his senior year. We'll take another timeout. We'll start to dive into VMI, the type of team that you'll face this Saturday at 3:30 at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field. Once again, we are live tonight at New Realm Brewing Company on the East Side Beltline. And the Brent Key Coaches Show is brought to you by Aero Exterminators, going beyond the call. We'll take another timeout. Back for more on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Yellow Jacket fans, be sure to visit GeorgiaPower.com/community to learn new ways to stay connected. Georgia Power, the official energy sponsor of Georgia Tech Athletics. Power on Georgia as we continue this Thursday night and our live edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show from New Realm Brewing on the East Side Beltline in advance of Georgia Tech on Military Appreciation Day versus VMI 3:30. Tomies Leather welcoming in the Keydets for the first time since 1988. An alum of VMI. Former head coach of the Yellow Jackets, Bobby Ross. He was a QB and DB at VMI.
You know who else was?
I like how you're trying to frame this as though like you did this research.
Yeah,
on
like I Googled it.
Yeah, no, please do tell the masses.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so they didn't graduate from VMI, but they both attended VMI. Mel Brooks and Fred Willard. I would not have pegged VMI as a cradle of comedians. That's no indictment of VMI, but, I mean, you talk about two legendary comedians.
Spaceballs.
Yeah. Fred Willard, Spinal Tap. Fred Willard also
Anchorman.
Fred Willard was a great color commentator in Best in Show. Christopher Guest.
Best in Show. Wow.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Remember one of his lines? He played Buck Laughlin in Best in Show, and one of his lines was, "Now, which one of these dogs do you think would be the wide receiver on a football team?" So there you go. You didn't think I could tie the room together, did you?
That was good.
Yeah. And then Mel Brooks.
Yeah. I
Blazing Saddles. Did you mention Blazing Saddles?
No, you did.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles.
I kind of figured.
History of the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
We could just spend the rest of this hour dropping movie quotes from those movies.
Spaceballs is like one of the classic.
You strike me as a Spaceballs kind of guy.
I was, that was around, Goonies. Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Stand By Me.
I'm sending you down a rabbit hole tonight.
Yeah.
You can't just always watch film.
And those are those are
cinematic classics.
Yeah, they were made between 85 and 87 also.
That's right in the wheelhouse right there. Those are the kinds of movies at your age that, like, you had to make sure, like, your mom wasn't aware. You slip that in.
Goonies is fine.
Goonies is fine. I was thinking more Spaceballs.
Stand By Me.
For a young, impressionable Brent Key.
Well, Stand By Me. The language was foul. Really bad.
And it's tender moments, though.
Yeah, just going to see a dead body.
Well, there you go. Boy,
Run!
Can you imagine somebody tuning in just now at this moment to the show? And that's the first thing they heard. That's fantastic. So I wrote about this on RamblingWreck.com today. As you know, this is the 16th meeting between Georgia Tech and VMI. And one of the games that Tech played versus VMI, 1973. Tech set 3 school records in that game versus VMI that still stand to this day. They won that game handily. It was 36-7, Coach. But VMI actually outgained Georgia Tech, and they converted more first downs than Georgia Tech that day. But the reason Tech won so handily was, number one, they forced 8 turnovers, 5 of which were interceptions. Those are both still school records. And also, their place kicker that year, E.O. Wheeler, in that game, he set the school record by kicking a 55-yard field goal. That's been tied by 2 others, but it has not been surpassed. Kicked that 55-yarder against VMI, and he also kicked a 52-yarder in that game. And he's the only kicker in Georgia Tech history with 2 field goals of 50-plus yards in a single game. Harrison Butker never did it. Luke Mangier never did it. A lot of great kickers at Georgia Tech never did. E.O. Wheeler did, and he did it against VMI 51 years ago.
8 turnovers?
They forced 8 turnovers. Yeah.
Wow.
Ask Randy Rhino. He probably was in the middle of a couple of those.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other interesting part about many interesting parts about that game for E.O. Wheeler, he was their long-range specialist that year. Cam Bonifay handled the short and medium-range field goals, who later became the GM of the Pittsburgh Pirates. E.O. Wheeler, those are the only 2 field goals he made that year. He finished 2 of 11 on field goals that year. The only field goals he made were versus VMI. One was a 52-yarder. The other is still a school record, 55 yards. And the best part about that 55-yarder, and I wrote about this on RamblingWreck.com today, he was sleeping on the sidelines right before coming on to kick that 55-yarder. They'd gotten stopped at the 38-yard line. They start yelling, field goal, field goal. I talked with Joby Leahy, who was the backup quarterback on that team and also the holder. He was dispatched to go find E.O. because it was time to bring the field goal unit on. He didn't respond to his name initially, and Joby hustles over to the bench, and he literally finds E.O. Wheeler fast asleep on the sidelines. So he was sleeping not 40 seconds before he goes out, and he kicks a 55-yard field goal, which remains the school record. How about that?
Wow.
Like, kickers are somewhat interesting breeds.
Why was he sleeping?
I guess the game just was not that entertaining to him.
Did it have anything to do with the night before?
It could very well have been. No, I'd go into more detail about E.O. and his career, and he was a legendary dude. Al Seraldo Jr., our legendary spotter and statistician, said, thank goodness social media was not around back then, because the stories that would flow about E.O. Wheeler and his escapades at Georgia Tech, he is somebody who evidently embraced the full student-athlete experience and then went on to a great career in financial services. I talked with his son, who's a third-generation Jacket. Actually met him at Hell of a Block Party before the Georgia State game. He was an aerospace engineering grad at Georgia Tech. They are Georgia Tech through and through. And E.O. passed away about 8 years ago, but they are a Georgia Tech family. And I know he's takes a lot of comfort knowing that his dad's name is still in the record books.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is.
E.O. Wheeler. Yes, indeed.
Was it the replacements? The kicker in the replacements? Or was it... What movie was it where the kicker, they just have to go grab him? And he
I think it was, yeah. I think it was the chain smoker.
Yeah,
that was the replacement.
Right.
Yeah, with Keanu Reeves. Yeah, so I'm just tossing that out there if you want to close the loop this weekend. You get stopped. It's like a 4th and 4, like they say, the 39-yard line. Aiden Burr's a chance for a 56-yarder. I'm just throwing that out there. Because we know Aiden's got the leg. I know he missed that field goal end of the first half against Syracuse, but we also saw him at the spring game kick a 62-yarder. So you know he's capable of it.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. We'll see. Okay. See how the game unfolds. See what the weather is. See how the wind's blowing.
I want to ask you about one more player, and then we'll hit our final break. And you were asked about him at your press conference this afternoon, and that's Zach Pyron, guy who has starting experience at Georgia Tech as a true freshman. He came in that goal line situation versus Florida State in the opener. He punches it in for the score. When Haynes lost his helmet on that last drive, it's a third down, need a crucial conversion. He comes on, engaged in the game. He goes in, gets that first down. And I'm sure that's very reflective of Zach and what he adds to your locker room, what makes him such a valued part of this team, even though he's gotten spot snaps at best this year.
Yeah, hopefully he gets more snaps. Continue to use him in different packages and different situations. Because he does bring a lot of value to the team as a player on the field, but he also brings a ton of value in the locker room. And he'll graduate in December.
That's great.
Which is super excited for him.
That means he's graduating a semester early, is he not?
Yeah, I mean that's what 22, 23. 3 years, 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So, really happy for him. Happy for how he's progressed. All summer. This summer, I mean, he had a tremendous training camp. Really did. So, the competition in that quarterback room is really good. and we got to continue to have that competition because it's going to push each other.
Facing VMI, which is led by Danny Rocco. He's in his second year in Lexington, Virginia. He was a veteran position coach at the FBS level on the defensive side of the ball. What are the defining traits of the VMI defense you'll see Saturday?
Well, they're 3 down front. They're 3-2, 3-2-3-3 stack defense. They'll play with a middle safety rover type guy, line them up sometimes around 7 yards from the line, almost like a diamond look is what it'll appear to be. 3 down linemen, 2 backers, and then a stacked diamond guy. And then they blitz, and they blitz more. They are not afraid to put every single player up on the line of scrimmage, with the exception of the guys covering down on the outside. They'll put 5 up, 6 up, 7 up, depending on the set you have. There could be you could see 8 or 9 guys up at the line.
So of the 4 teams you've faced at this point, this is going to be the heaviest blitzing team of the 4. Yeah,
I don't know if we'll see anybody that does as much as them, based on the history, based on what they've done. So we're expecting a heavy dose of it this week.
All right, well, they'll try to turn it loose. You'll try to keep them at bay, and Georgia Tech will try to get that scoreboard in their favor on Saturday. We'll take one more timeout. Once again, the Brent Key Coaches Show is brought to you by the Georgia Lottery. Hey, Georgia, you can play Georgia Lottery games online, at home, on your phone, or anywhere. Go to GALottery.com and click on DigiGames. One more timeout. We'll wrap things up with the head coach, Brent Key, on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Final few minutes here. Want to thank all of you coming out tonight at New Realm Brewing. Thank you so much for being in the live audience. We'll do this every Thursday at 6 o'clock with head coach Brent Key. I know you always appreciate being among the faithful here on a Thursday night.
Yeah, it's great to come out and be able to, number one, get out of the office.
That's part of the appeal as well.
See real people, other than the ones I see every day. So, and then just the atmosphere here, the deck, I mean, everything. It's such a great spot.
Covered deck, we might add. I know that the rain's starting to fall a little bit. And look, I think everybody's seen the forecast for Saturday. Don't let that be a deterrent. Make sure you come out, you support your Yellow Jackets, 330 Tomies Leather. We were talking about this as well. For football players, some of their favorite games are in those wet conditions. So this probably won't face any of your guys, what weather may come this Saturday.
No, I mean, we plan for things. I mean, we have all these, different adjustments and things. But at the end of the day, like, wet games are fun. Like right. rain games are fun. The kids love playing in them. They're fun to coach in. It's not like it's affecting one team and not the other. Mm-hmm. Right? Both teams are affected the same. There's no advantage or disadvantage in either way. But some of the best memories I have, we were at UCF and played Marshall in an absolute torrential downpour, and I mean there was water on the field like this, and it was just a slosh. And then we played out in Dallas one time, and it was right after a big ice snowstorm came through, and it wasn't snowing, but it was like sub 10, 12, 14 degrees or something. Ice was all, they moved the ice off the field, and it was as hard as this table. And so they're fun. They do provide pretty cool memories.
Yeah, just bring your rain gear. Everything will be fine. Look forward to you being loud for the Jackets on Saturday. VMI, they're 0-2 right now. They played FCS competition in both of those games, but they got a really good running back in Hunter Rice. 26 career rushing touchdowns. He went for 166 against Bucknell. What stands out about him as a runner?
Yeah, well, he's a hard runner. He's got good speed. You look at the speeds on their team, on some of their skill guys, and some of them are really the same as some of our guys. They're going to try to establish the run, control the line of scrimmage. They do a good job of it. So,
well, there you go. That's the story. That wraps up the Brent Key Coaches Show. We'll see you at 3:30 on Saturday. For Brent Key, I'm Andy Demetra. Thanks once again for listening, everybody.
Appreciate it. Go Jackets.